Oh yeah. How's it going, man?
Yes. What is up, Mr. Kyle? Good.
This has been great so far. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, dude, it's great to have you here. So, for those of you who don't know, Kyle Good and I are great friends. We used to live together in San Diego. We talk quite frequently about business, about life, and I have encouraged him over the years to share more of the strategy that he's used to quietly source off-market properties that nobody else really knows about or has access to. And for years, we all wondered how Kyle Good did it. And up until recently, Kyle has started to share this strategy and provide it as a service at scale for investors in the industry. And it's crazy how effective this strategy is. And we're calling it the pre-market pipeline. It's called the pre-market pipeline, and we're going to take you guys through this exercise and really coach you through how to do this manually on your own and some of the key factors that drive success in building relationships at scale, specifically real estate agent relationships. So, Kyle, do you have anything else you'd like to add to that introduction before we kind of set the tone here with the relationship scale meter?
Yeah, I think that, really what you've talked about so far, I love that you addressed that there's a lot of different ways to generate deals for your business. And I think, one of the biggest lessons that I've learned is that, finding something that works and then sticking to it is absolutely vital to a long-term business model. And that's really what I'm focusing on, is just being extremely dialed in on building relationships that can perpetuate deals long term. And so that's really, what I'm focusing on. And obviously, there's a lot of other strategies that do work as well. But what I've been focusing on for the past 8 years has been specifically just building relationships that are, the genesis of the leads that, turn into the deals that we're really looking for. So
Yeah.
that's my focus, and I think that's what we're going to address today.
Yeah, so I'd love to hear from you guys that have worked with real estate agents in the past. What's the hardest part about sourcing deals consistently from real estate agents? Type it in the chat. I just want to know, what is the hardest part about getting deals through relationships in general or specifically with real estate agents? Type it in the chat. Chris third degree burns. Real estate agents are scattered. Getting them to like, know, and trust you. Jacques says having them pick up the phone. Jeremiah says getting them to convey your offer correctly. Bill Salas, what's up? Staying top of mind. Yep. Feeling like I'm wasting their time, asking them to put in lowball offers, not predictable source. Getting them out of the way to allow us to negotiate directly with the seller. Yeah. They don't like investors wasting their time. Only a few deals are available per agent. I think a
Mm,
lot of us have the wrong mindset towards them. I mean,
totally.
these are all very, very common thoughts across the investor space for sure, Kyle. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. And, in fact, I think after we go through the frameworks that, we're going to talk about today, I'm happy to address some of these points and, hopefully add some value to, everyone here that, these all are very uh, understandable and common experiences and thoughts to work with agents. And, let's be honest, most of the agents in the industry, and there are a lot of agents, aren't the best agents to work with investors, right? And so
Yeah.
our objective is obviously to identify who are the best agents to work with. And then all of the other elements that you guys have brought up so far are definitely ways of communication that we can clear up, and just systems that really allow for us to have a good dynamic with the agents that are able and are currently bringing deals to investors to then bring the deals to you specifically. And so we can talk about that. But if you guys have more
Yeah.
issues or things that you've experienced with working with agents, this is all very high level understanding psychologically, like how to properly work and communicate with agents. Happy to address some of those things towards the end here. So,
Yeah. And so I kind of drew this model out. If you guys want to pin my screen again, so you can see what we're going to be describing here. There's really kind of three levels of investors that Kyle has worked with. When it comes to building relationships at scale, there's kind of the red zone down here. Red light would be kind of like you're getting one deal a year from agents, right? What
Yep.
are what does this kind of look like for investors that are getting one deal per year?
Yeah, so really, is what I think one of the comments had mentioned. Like they're scattered, where it's kind of unpredictable on if you're going to get a deal, if at all. And it's kind of you've had conversations, you've met a few agents, maybe had some meetings, and they relatively know who you are. And so you might get some MLS listings sent to you, and just because you're not looking at the MLS, it happens to be a deal, and so you can close like one deal a year, right? Or you're just getting started and you don't really have an established presence in the marketplace. And so one deal a year is pretty common for people that don't have a strategy, or they're just getting started out.
And when they're doing it themselves, typically you're seeing them do it in a really inefficient way, right? Where it's like super time consuming, pretty poor quality leads, right?
Yeah, I mean, these are the deals that this is why the agent connotation of like not being easy to work with and they don't have the best deals comes from, right? Because most of the investors that I talk to say MLS deals are not worth their time, right? And especially working with agents, they're hard to work with, all of these things, because they're really communicating with agents that from a high level are sending them the leads that 10 other investors have already looked at, right? Which that's not very helpful if you're an investor looking for an easy deal to transact, an agent that wants to play ball with an investor, and also a good deal, right? A profitable deal. And so this is the experience that most investors have with agents, and getting deals from them, which is why most investors don't pursue that line of work with
Yeah.
finding deals, which
Super
is great
competitive.
news for me and all the different investors that I'm able to support, because it's a less crowded space if you know what you're doing and you know how to actually get the deals coming to you before they're being sent to anyone else, right? So we're trying to
Yeah.
get agents to send you one deal before anyone else, before they take it to the market and everyone sees it. So
Yep.
that's the idea.
So we see it just being a time consuming effort, crappy quality leads, super competitive, sending the same deal to 10 other people, and they're all just deals that are on the market, right? So it's not really anything special. But
Totally.
if you do this, then you can probably pull one deal a year about it. But the goal here is to drive us up this chain here. So yellow zone would be more like 1 to 5 deals per year from agents, right? And so when you're doing that, you're doing it with a little bit more structure and process. So 1 to 5 deals a year. If you're still doing that at that level, what is it? What does that
Yeah.
entail, and what does it look
Yeah,
like at
what
that
I
level?
what I've seen, what I'm experiencing, most of the investors at that level, they've been in the game for long enough where they have some reputation in their industry, right? And this is whether you're investing or you're wholesaling. Like people know who you are relatively, and that obviously would involve agents to some capacity. Um, and so that's obviously just going to be your relative sense of presence in the marketplace. They might have people that they're talking to on a regular basis, where they're calling a specific broker or a couple of agents that they know are power. Um, they're going to pull deals
Brokers.
for them, relatively frequently, and they're going to be working their best to get them the leads. So that's what I would say that level would consist of.
And in terms of their the scope of all their lead gen, this is just kind of like a side income, right? It's
Yeah,
not driving
most
growth.
investors are not depending on this for a X amount of deals per month. So this is still just kind of random happenstance, because 5 deals a year doesn't really put a drop in the bucket to their other marketing strategies that are working, which is great, but they obviously don't have um, a consistent process that is allowing for them to have a predictable amount of deals coming in. So it just still feels a bit scattered and random.
Yeah, and if you're trying to maintain relationships with like 10 to 20 agents by yourself, in addition to running your business, it's just not sustainable. right?
It can be time consuming. It can be, a lot of agents like to be on phone calls for a long time. So if you don't have the right systems and processes, it can be hard to scale at that level.
Yep.
Yep.
And so if we want to go from 1 to 5 deals per year to, let's say, 3 to 5 deals a month
Yep.
sourced by real estate agents, what does that look like?
Yeah. So, really what we're talking about is building a strategy that definitely needs to have systems in place. And, when you're talking about the amount of agents that you're communicating with, most of the investors that I talk with, unless they've been in the space for a long time, they have less than, a dozen agents that they're talking with. But what we want to get to, and actually, so Ken, for example, who's also on the call, what we want to establish for investors are having thousands of relationships that they are able to communicate with and build relationships with at scale. And so, really, what it comes down to is having the right systems in place and knowing exactly what to say and how to say it. That allows for you to do that. I prefer to do that leverage that with technology. So I leverage email versus phone calls. I'm not going to call 1,000 agents. So we definitely have systems that are in play to initiate the relationships and conversations. And then just like any sales funnel, you want to have the leads coming in, and we're aiming to obviously get the highest volume of leads on a monthly basis. But then obviously there's certain conversion metrics that can go along with that. But
Yeah.
for example, like Ken's down in Florida, and we had, I think since the last month, we're right around 70 leads that have come in. And then obviously those need to be pursued and closed, but that's like the top of the funnel. And then those can then convert into 3 to 5 deals a month as the systems progress. And obviously you got to call and close the deal, but that's where you want to be at. You want to be working with thousands of agents, because there are thousands of agents in every market, every major market that are, we could do deals in. And so you really want to think of it like a huge lead funnel.
Yeah, and when you're at that scale, you can tap into this concept that Kyle, you mentioned it when we chatted, called return on relationship, like
Yep.
the compound interest on your relationship.
Yep.
What does that mean when you're at this level?
Yeah. So one of the cool things that I love about relationship marketing is that it's way different than any other strategy where you're pouring marketing dollars into sending messaging out to sellers, and you're doing whether it's direct mail or PPC or Facebook ads or whatever the strategies are, and you're aiming to acquire that one deal. All of the marketing capital that you just spent to acquire that one deal is sunk into that one deal. That was your acquisition cost for that wholesale or that flip. And then you got to rinse and repeat. So you got to continue to spend capital to acquire more deals. But what we're talking about here with relationship return, is that when an agent brings you a deal, they will keep bringing you deals if you treat them right. And especially if you guys are able to close the deal, they're going to want to continue to keep doing deals with you because
Mm.
you're now all of a sudden a solution to their problem of trying to get rid of these, properties that need to be bought by investors. And if you treat them right, and they obviously can represent you on the purchase, so they're able to make commission profit from the deals, they're going to continue to send you deals. So that the objective
Mhm.
is to establish relationships with key agents that are already doing deals, and then having them bring you deals for over and over and over again. So one agent could bring you deals, multiple deals per year. And if you establish enough of those, now we're talking about having a deal pipeline that you can rely on as one of your many marketing channels that are bringing you deals. And that's
Yeah.
what we should definitely be establishing. And then what the great part about the return on relationship investment is that, you obviously are investing to get those relationships started, but you don't have to continue to invest, more and more and more money over time, unless you want exponential returns. But those relationships will keep producing deals over time. I've been doing this for 8 years now, and I still have agents that are sending me deals that I met 8 years ago, right? And so like that's invaluable. You can't really calculate the return that you get on generating that one initial relationship.
Yeah, and what I love about the nature of these referrals are that there's pre-existing motivation, right? You mentioned this, like you don't have to deal with sellers and their pain points necessarily. You don't have to prospect for people and try to dig. They're
Right.
already coming to you pre-existing motivation, right?
Yep. Yeah. And also to tap onto that, these agents are already investing their capital to market to find these sellers. So that's why, we're trying to tap into an existing pipeline. These agents are already either, they're have already signed a listing agreement, or they're about to go sign a listing agreement with the seller. And all we're doing is trying to tap into that process and convert on that deal. But they've acquired that deal based on investing their own capital. So the agents, in fact, are spending more money to acquire that deal likely than you would. And so you're also able to benefit from having the agent marketing dollars working in your favor.
And this is why I love it. And it's not necessarily, you could call it free leads, like free marketing, but you have to invest the time and you still have to get on the phone when it's a deal to actually get the deal done. So
Yep.
I don't want to mislead people into thinking this is free source of leads, but there is no
Right.
outward capital like inbound, like direct mail, like hiring cold callers, et cetera, et cetera. You can build a team around this, which we'll get into. But
Yep. Yeah, it's time and process driven, and relationship capital is developed by time and by actually communicating with these agents. And so there is no Facebook ad campaign to run to build relationships. Like it is the most it's like what Paul Graham says, one of the biggest investors. He says that you need to do things that don't scale at first in order to be able to scale down the road. And the doing things that don't scale is like they're developing those relationships, and then down the road you will be at scale when you're able to develop those relationships.
So let's talk about how. Let's talk about how to do this. So Kyle is becoming an expert at something. Well, he is an expert at this concept called relationship marketing, right? So this is a framework that we're going to teach you for real estate agents, but really this can be applied to any industry, any relationship. And we created this framework called the pre-market pipeline circles. And how this works is you got the nugget at the center, which is deal flow, which is what we're all after, just consistent new opportunities, ideally off market, that very few people have access to, coming to you. And the goal is to kind of use this framework to make those happen. So let's talk about this first level here. Once you get to deal flow, what do you need to have in place, right? Relationships.
Absolutely.
So I think people are often confused that relationships are just a one-on-one, one-to-one, and that we can only have 150 people in our circle or whatever. Speak to this concept of like, how do you get relationships at scale?
Yeah, so I think this goes back to the systems, which obviously we're going to discuss. In order to get relationships at scale, you have to be casting a wide net. You have to see that there are tens of thousands of these agents that are in your market areas that you're currently working in, and we have to look at it in terms of how can we operate at the scale of potential deal flow that have the potential of coming in. And so, it's not going to be the best approach to have someone on the phone just calling every single day and trying to connect with every single agent. We have to do this in a way where we're identifying the movers and shakers, and we're obviously working to focus, and we're 80-20ing. Who's the 80-20 of the total amount of agents? You might have 50,000 registered agents in your market area. Who are the 80-20 of those agents that are the ones that are working on the deals that you're looking for, and targeting those agents to the best of your ability and developing relationships with them so that you become their go-to investor. And that really is what it comes down to. And so the most amount of agents that we can develop that fit that criteria is the way to do that at scale.
Yep, the goal here, pardon my handwriting, is to become a go-to investor and not the random, sporadic deal flow, like chance-based marketing. We want you to become the go-to investor. So when we have targeted relationships, how do we get them to send us deals in the first place? Well, we have to build influence, right? And this is really where this system is kind of magical. Describe to us how you can build influence with agents so that they send you off-market deals that they could otherwise just list.
Yeah, absolutely. No, this really comes down to persuading someone, right? So, at the end of the day, everyone has reasons for doing what they're doing. Agents are really, just like us in the way where they want to make capital, they want to make money, and they obviously want to have an easy transaction. And so, especially in the market that we're in today, this is an absolute seller market. And really, agents have a responsibility to get the most amount of capital for their property, right? So it really matters how we're getting them to send us these opportunities, and in order to forego getting it to the market and getting 10 offers in the first hour, right? So it's really important that we get to have them send us these properties before they send it to anyone else, right? And so one of the easiest ways that we can do that, and everyone that's on this call is either some form of investor or wholesaler, or you also might be a licensed agent. The objective to working with agents, and really, you have to realize that this component doesn't take away from your potential profit. It actually increases your profit. And that component is allowing for these agents to represent you on the deal, right? So they're obviously representing the seller on the listing, and you're coming in as their buyer, and you're allowing them to represent you on the purchase of the property. And then if you're whether you're wholesaling it or you're flipping it yourself, they're obviously, in whatever pro forma you're using, there's always a relist component on the resale of the property. Unless you're buying and holding, that's a different conversation. But then there's still a back end commission, and depending on what your strategy is, it might be 1%, it might be a flat fee. You should definitely have in mind that the agent wants to collect as much commission as they possibly can. And if you're reaching out and communicating to them with that in mind, that is probably, I would say, the biggest carrot that you can put out in front of that agent to want to send you that opportunity, because otherwise it's a risk to them. They don't want this house, this address to be floating around, the ether, and people driving by their sellers' homes before it's even on the market, right? Because that's also an issue, right? And so if you need to communicate your worth, you need to communicate that you're a legitimate investor. Like all of this stuff compounds into you being someone that they're trusting, right? And there's obviously very specific things that we could say, and ways of building up all that credibility. I don't think we have time to go into that today, but you have to be able to communicate that and get the agent to want to send it to you, and that really does come down to incentivizing them to want to do that.
Yep. So influence. Why would they want to work with you in the first place? AROG asks, how do you talk to them if you're a wholesaler?
Yeah. So I will say that I wholesaled 95% of all the deals that I've ever done from working with agents. And, frankly, how you talk with agents if you're a wholesaler comes down to, I would say, your existing business model. And if you're confident in your ability to wholesale, I'm always a big fan of being integrous and saying, exactly what's happening. And if you're providing wholesaling as a service, you are providing a massive amount of value to that agent. And I would communicate straight up, hey, I have a network of buyers that are looking for this exact property. And maybe deeper into your question is, how do you work with an agent and incentivize them to still send you a deal? Well, they still want to represent your end buyer. So if you're wholesaling a deal, you need to make sure that it's a part of the terms of the deal. When you're sending this to your network, you need to make sure that the end buyer is aware that they need to have the agent represent them on the purchase, and they shouldn't care if the deal's off market. And in fact, this is how I did all of my investment deals. I found the best investment partners in my market area, and I was extremely transparent and communicative with both the agents and the investors. And both parties were totally fine because, we were providing a service that was pairing them with the best investors in that market area.
Yeah.
And so, as long as the investors are aware that there's an agent involved in the, the deal is contingent upon the agent representing them on the purchase, they shouldn't care. And in fact, they should want to do that to get more deals from that agent moving forward. And then obviously, there's a realist component involved as well. But that's how I would approach that
I,
conversation
I
at
think the
all.
conversation more revolves around your relationship with your buyers.
Yep,
And they should
absolutely.
just trust they don't really care where it's coming from. And maybe you have
That's
an
right.
agreement with them outside of the closing table where you can source
Absolutely.
these properties. You can do whatever you want as long as you have a great relationship with the end buyer. This strategy
100%.
works. This strategy works for that. Or if you're the principal and you're going to be buying everything, it works even better, right?
Absolutely. And I will tell you, that I would highly recommend having one or two high end buyers that you're working with, in terms of like your relationship capital is built with your buyers first, so that they know that when you send over a lead to them that is being sourced from an agent, that they need to treat that, expediently and with respect and care, because that opportunity needs to be capitalized on as soon as possible. Because remember, we're basically siphoning off the pipeline of this house going to the market. So time is a big component. We need to call and convert that agent as soon as possible. And so, what I would recommend and what I did, and have been doing, is identifying the best investor, the one best investor, not sending it to 100 different people, because that's just going to blow up a deal, just in general. So I would definitely build, like you said, Dan, a relationship with an investor, take them out to dinner, spend time with them, have these conversations before, hey, here's what it looks like when I send you this deal. We need to be on the same page about, our relationship, how you're going to talk to the agent. So definitely take care of that ahead of time. And that'll make your life way easier too, because then you don't have to work with, fishing for buyers.
Exactly. So hopefully that answered your question, A Rock. We're going to
Good
talk
question.
about identifying the movers and shakers in a little bit. So if we want to build influence with targeted relationships to create deal flow, we need to have a system. And you know that I'm all about systems. What is this actually like? What does this mean in terms of relationship marketing, Kyle?
Yeah. So at the end of the day, systems are what scale. This is what you teach. This is the component of creating, anything that is sustainable long term. And anyone can go out and ruffle a bunch of feathers and, kick up a bunch of dust and maybe get a deal or two, but we want to have something that's sustainable long term. And I'm talking about multiple years, right? Because I know that everyone on this call is wanting to build a business, that they're not doing this just for a season. They're doing this for multiple years, and they want to build a business
Yeah.
that they can eventually not have to worry about where the leads are coming from, and step out, right? And so really what it comes down to is we need to have a process and a system in place. And really, what matters, it doesn't need to be extremely complex, and we don't need to talk about, doing this at the level of, you know, having thousands of agents, which frankly is way beyond the scope of this conversation. But even having a process, even if you have some, VA that's helping you manage some, relationships for you, there needs to be a process, either a weekly or bi-weekly process, where maybe you identify a couple of agents that, like, hey, if I just keep up with these 10, and I think that the stoplight metaphor that you had was good to bring back to this, is like most people on this call might not have any, or very few agent relationships, which is fine, but there still needs to be a process and a system in place to nurture those relationships so that they can send you deals over time, right?
Yep.
So the system really matters to have that snowball compounding effect, to allow for you to build a business around being able to rely on deals coming from agents.
What's your favorite tool for doing this?
Gmail.
I know it's, yeah, email.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Email is absolutely the best way to keep relationships alive without spending a high amount of time doing that. You get the highest ROI on your time invested.
Yeah, and Kyle is humble. He's able to scale this out without ever having to get on the phone until the point that it's time to get on the phone. right? So until the
Right.
point that it's a qualified deal, you can
One,
get the right information. Most agents are like, when can we talk on the phone? But Kyle has scripts and stuff for his advanced program that like gets you out of those situations, so you just get the data.
yeah, right. So, at the end of the day, you want to be a business owner, right? You want to be in the seat of, not working on the minutia and having agents send you emails like, "Hey, I have a upcoming property, and here's the address. Let me know what you think." Or, this one's off market, right? You want to get on the calls as soon as possible with those agents because they're giving you the golden ticket to that deal. Now, obviously, not every deal is going to be a home run, but the point is that you're getting deals that you wouldn't otherwise be getting, and you can get them in abundance. And so there will be deals in there that convert, and that's the point. Is like you only want to get on a call when there is a deal to be talked about, and that's the point where either you or your sales department, whoever is going to be the point person of like developing those long-term relationships, needs to obviously be good at sales, but
Yeah.
to convert on that opportunity when it presents itself, and it is important to have that dialed in.
And since it's only on email, you can it's outsourceable when you have the right system and team in place.
Yeah, you can
Dan
have
Underwood,
someone in your team. Go ahead.
do you have a question? I see your hand is raised.
I do. Yeah, enjoyed your presentation so far. Real quick, what have you done once you've introduced realtor to buyer? What do you put in place in order to protect that relationship on either side?
Yeah, good question, Dan. So I will tell you that I'm not a huge fan of the wholesaling concept in general. I think that it's very contingent upon your analysis of the deal ahead of time, and hoping that your ARV and your renovation costs and scope are accurate based on your understanding of what the investor is. So getting a house under contract and then getting a buyer involved is kind of like sleight of hand, in my opinion. So to answer your question directly, I again, back to what Dan said, developing that relationship ahead of time with your buyers to make sure that they're not going to cut you out of the picture or any of that stuff. Work with people that you feel like you can trust, and typically those are the biggest buyers in your area, the ones that are doing the most volume, the ones that have the best track record. So vet your buyers. But what I would actually say is, communicate to them that you're going to get them involved as soon as you are able to get the details of that deal from the agent, right? So you get an address, you get a price. You want to get the investor involved as fast as possible, because they can then help you and actually get on calls with you and with the agent, get the team out there as soon as possible, their construction team, get out to the property and remove contingencies with your investor before you even write the offer. So have half the offers written up with the investment companies, and then you and your buyer just have an external agreement outside of escrow that they're going to pay you X dollars as the delta between what they can offer you, the agent, what they can offer you, and then you get paid 10, 20, 30 grand outside of escrow. But you basically just put that investor right into escrow with that agent, and then it's non-contingent. So as a wholesaler, you don't have anything to worry about. The deal's going through. Your investors already removed contingencies. They've already put their money into escrow, and you can then go and work on your next deal. That's how I've done all of my deals, and it's been a dream because I'm working with investors that know what they're doing, and they see the value of deals, and they don't want to cut off the head of the golden goose if we're bringing deals, and we're bringing deals that have the potential to bring multiple deals down the road. So they're happy to get on a phone call as long as you establish that what's going on ahead of time and telling them like what's how this is going to go. And you're also obviously running a risk of having the investor get on a call with you with the agent, but as long as you've established that this is the best buyer that has the highest likelihood of actually making the best offer to both you and to the seller in terms of price, those typically tend to be the biggest buyers in the market area. You can then just ensure that you're going to have the highest likelihood of converting on that deal. And then at the end of the day, it comes down to how much are you able to get out of that deal. And you and your buyer will have clear communication outside of the communications with the agent. and then you guys can write up the contract and you guys are off to the races and closing escrow.
Cool.
Does that answer your question, Dan?
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Awesome. Great question, man.
I'll be in touch with you. Thank you.
All right. Yeah. Sounds good. Happy to help.
So yeah, there's a lot of little subtleties that need to be in play in order to do this and make it so that it scales best if you're the principal, but that is the strategy you do if you want to wholesale these deals out to your buyers. So I don't know if you wanted to show like what's possible. I know you have some example like email opens and stuff, and I want to show what is possible at scale before we dive into the scripts and the pipeline tracker, which is going to help you guys just get some traction on this strategy yourself before like it's getting fancy with teams and technology and stuff. But
hey Dan, can you make me a co-host? I need to be able to share my screen. I'm happy to pull up some. We actually one of my investment partners in the Bay Area, Eugene, who I know is a part of this community, we had quite a few leads coming in since yesterday, and I figured that since it's pretty timely, just to share some of those. So let's see. I wonder if it'll. Yeah. So let's see. Can you guys see my screen? My
yeah.
I don't know if you can see this. Okay, so basically, I'll just scroll through some of these. So basically, these are like the types of messages that we want to have agents sending us. Hey, I have something coming up in a couple of weeks. Great, so that's a couple of weeks out. I might have something off market in Pacifica, light fixer, more cosmetic. All right, let's see. We have I have a coming soon listing in the San Francisco Bay Area district. Price will be $799. Hey, here are a few off-market listings. Let me know if you're interested in any of these, right? Also, if you're in the Bay Area, these leads are not not for you. So you get the idea. Here's another one. This is cool. So this is another good example. I have an off-market bundle opportunity for 12 fixer homes, single-family homes in Oakland. Right, so there's obviously deals there's opportunities for multiple deals to be coming through from one person. So you get the idea. Here's the address. Here's another property coming up, and you guys can, if you want, see that these properties are available right now and off market. But we've already pursued them, so the deals are already taken. The idea is that there are fixers coming up. So, that's what's possible. And Ken, I didn't want to show your leads without getting your permission, and we didn't get a chance to check ahead of time. But we obviously also have had quite a few off-market leads coming through over the past month with some great success. So,
no worries, I appreciate it.
But Ken, I mean, you can maybe just speak just quickly since we're obviously helping you pretty closely in terms of the lead volume and in terms of agents sending off market opportunities. Eugene was going to be on the call, but he couldn't make it today. But could you maybe just comment on that for a minute?
What's been the activity?
Yeah. I mean, we're Kyle. I've been working with Kyle for probably a month and a half now, and we're really starting to get a decent amount of leads through it. Haven't quite had anything hit yet, but I mean, historically, a lot of our deals have come from agent relationships, and that when they come across something, we work with 2 or 3 that relationships that we had before Kyle and I linked up, and when they had something that needed work, that needed an investor that they knew wasn't going to flake out, that agent would send it directly to us. And historically, that's been some of our best deals. So, as far as working with Kyle on it, it's been great so far. It's really, you just kind of have to commit to building those relationships, and, you're not necessarily going to get rich overnight from it. It's they might have something coming up, but you might not get something for a little while on it, but down the road, these people are going to hit you up. And then it's really just building those relationships, like he said, where they'll keep sending you stuff over time, as long as you perform well and do, our thing is always, we do exactly what we say we're going to do when we get something under contract. So I'm really, really excited. I think this marketing channel for us has more potential than anything else we're working on, where, you reach out to, you text 10,000 people or 100,000 people, however many it may be, and they own one property, and they're going to, one time sell you a property, versus an agent is going to always have properties that they're, working with sellers on, and they'll continue sending you stuff where you don't have to keep spending money on marketing over and over and over again to get a one-off deal.
It's that return on relationship kicking in.
Yes.
That's awesome. Yeah, Ken, thanks for sharing that, man. I also wanted to say one thing that you just commented on was that doing what you say you're going to do, that is 100% the most vital piece of working with agents, because at the end of the day, we're building relationships here. And if you can't do a deal, that's okay. And you tell them that you can't do a deal. And, back to what Dan was asking, in terms of like, how do you communicate if you're wholesaling a deal? Be very clear about whether you can make a deal work or not. Don't try to, assume that you can get a deal done for X price and then you have to cancel escrow, because that kind of can definitely play a role in maintaining that relationship. Because you said you were able to buy a house at a certain price, and unless you're telling them that you're going to go try to wholesale the deal, then you have to cancel the escrow because the numbers didn't work out. I wouldn't recommend that. So what Ken said is absolutely vital. Is do what you say you're going to do, and so just commit to the things that you can commit to. And that's why I think like you were saying, Dan, Ken is the primary principal on the deals that he's looking into, and obviously that plays a big role. So yep. Ken, one of the things I wanted to just make sure we brought to the attention was, these agents, since we first started working together, we were able to, get these agents that you have never worked with before to send you and your team off-market deals pretty much right as we started to reach out to them, right? Mm-hmm. And then your team has also gone out to a couple of these properties to potentially make the deals work. And obviously, I know there's a couple of stakes in the fire right now, but there have been leads at least worth going out to see if you're able to analyze and get the deal done.
Yeah, we've definitely had some that have been good. Just one reason or another, they didn't work out, and maybe I think timing was an issue on one or two of them. There's it's only a matter of time, really.
Yeah. We're going to get quite a few deals under our belts, and as we're going. So thanks for sharing, man. I appreciate that, Ken, and thanks for chiming in. So Dan, I think at the end of the day, what it comes down to is, we have to have systems in place, and I think that's what we are talking about next. So I think let's give the community, something that they can at least start with from a basic level of if they have 0 agents, or if they're they have maybe 1 or 2. Let's give them a process so that they can actually start to build the momentum, get to a handful of agents so that they can get some leads generated. Yeah.
So what Kyle didn't show is like the response rates on these emails that are going out are like massive, like higher than average for sure.
Yeah. And so I think we're operating for Ken's account. We're operating around 65% open rates, and we're close to, I believe, 20% response rates. And that's quite remarkable in terms of just any type of marketing campaigns. So that's I'm definitely proud of that, and that then perpetuates the conversations that are actually being had about deals, right?
Yeah, and so that's pretty awesome. And this is what we're going to do, guys. We want you guys to get some momentum just doing this on your own before scaling it out, just to prove that it works. Like I said, action cures all. And so we created a really simple system for you to go out and start to build relationships with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 agents that you do not know yet. So we have some example scripts here, which we can talk about. We have a space here for you to actually write your ideal email in there to take notes while we kind of describe these. But why don't we just go over the basic process here and then talk about the actual language of what to say.
Yep. Yeah, so I think from a really high level, and again, if you have an assistant, this is probably great work to have them begin to do this with you and for you. But what I would recommend, and just keep it simple. At the end of the day, execution is worship, right? Like that is the thing that we need to focus on. Today, go on the MLS and just look at the houses that were listed today, and find 5 fixers that are deals that you would want to buy if they were good deals, if the numbers made sense. Now, I'm not saying that the deals that you're going to be finding on MLS are the ones you're going to buy. That's not the point here. What we want to do is establish the awareness of these agents that brought these houses on the market that are active. They are doing deals like these, the fixtures that you're going to find. And so I want you to establish those 5 agents that you see. And those are the agents that you're going to work on developing relationships with. Now, what Dan was just showing is some of the, basically conversation starters that you could have your team send to you. Send to the agents. But this is the cadence, right? You want to have a conversation starter, which typically is in the form of an email. And then you have a phone call, which I would recommend by having someone on your team doing it. If you have a team, obviously the person that would be sales developing relationships for you, and then a follow-up call time scheduled. And so that's something that you want to have a cadence with, right? And this is where we're having a system. And so that's the relative process for developing those relationships.
Talk us through like where to go publicly right now to find 5 agents that are worth talking to.
Well, again, my focus would be to use, so the MLS is obviously like the best source, but you can use anything, Redfin, Zillow, however you want. But like I said, don't overcomplicate it. Find an agent that has a fixer on the market today. They just brought this house in the market. They're going to want to hear from you, and they're going to want to talk with you as an investor or a wholesaler. And so it doesn't matter where you find them. These houses are very easily available online. So that it just doesn't matter where you find them.
Cool. So look for active fixtures on Zillow or on the MLS if you don't have it. So you're going to find the name, you're going to type out the address associated, and then that intro email. So you can, by the way, you can have your VA do all this. And in fact, the whole point of this exercise is to show you how your team can do this on your behalf to kick up some dirt. Then you or your lead manager can go and sift through the dirt, find some gold. So talk us through that intro email.
Sure. So basically, this is a simple conversation starter. Nothing crazy. No secret sauce here. You're basically saying, hey, agent name. We noticed that you listed the property that you're reaching out to them about, and we were wondering if you could tell me more about the property, right? About the condition. And then moving forward is, I'm sure you're overwhelmed with interest, which they probably are considering today's market conditions. Are you open to a quick chat so we can learn more about you and the property? And I'll give you a ring shortly. So you're basically telling them that you're going to reach out and communicate to these agents, and just to expect that they're going to hear from you. And I'm looking forward to hearing from you, right? So this is the conversation starter. Have someone reach out and try to generate interest, right? So then when you obviously call them, you could say, hey, I emailed you, and start the conversation from there. One quick point on the email side of things, I'm seeing some comments in the chat box here about different tools. I will say I've been doing this for 8 years, so there are definitely some potholes that you don't want to fall into. I would be very careful with sending campaigns that if you're not used to sending campaigns, you can quickly screw up your website and different things. So I'd be very careful about sending emails, trying to do a scaling email, or an email blast. I would highly recommend not just like randomly stumbling into that field, because you can quickly ruin your brand and your reputation that is the one thing that I will tell you guys that agents absolutely do not respond positively to, are feeling like they're getting email blasted. And that is 100% what most investors do, which is why they don't get great results. So if you're gonna try to email blast a bunch of agents, you might get a deal every now and then, but you will likely be spam blacklisted. Like, I would just highly recommend not doing that just like randomly. So going into the email, I would send these directly to them. It's like one off, like send them to the agent. So let's talk about the script. Let's dive into like what to say on the call.
Wait. One question on the email signature, sure. Influence. How do we leverage that from the get-go?
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, we need to get on the phone with these agents to develop relationships. So make sure that you have your company site, make sure that you have your number or your sales team's number. If you're using some type of calling, like a call rail or something like that, I would just make sure that your signature looks professional and they don't have to wonder who you are, right? So I would just make sure that you have your website. And if you're an established investor, you should have that already all dialed in. So just make sure that you're sending it from your company's email and you're off to the races.
Yeah, don't use your iPhone where it says sent from iPhone or whatever.
Right.
And use it so it's Gmail. Like there's tools that allow you to send through Gmail at scale. I see you guys talking about that, which is next level. But yeah, just use Gmail for now, and this is a good kind of entry level script. But the goal is obviously to get them on the phone, and then you can reference the email as the common point.
Right. Cool. So let's talk about the script. So can you zoom in on that a little bit, Dan? It's a little bit fuzzy on my screen. There we go. Great. So opening conversations. This is from either you or your sales team. What's going on with the sale? We're trying to establish rapport with the agent. What's going on with the property? The property is their current most important element that they're trying to solve in their life, in their business. They have that property, they're trying to get rid of it. So you want to talk about the property, establish yourself as a credible investor. What's going on with this property specifically? And ask them, do you have any other offers from investors? And they might tell you they do. And so you can ask them about those offers. Do they have contingencies? And if they tell you that they do or that they don't, you can tell them how you work, right? Do you guys write offers with contingencies? Do you guys just have completely removed contingencies, like as you're writing your offers, like we talked about a little bit earlier? This will allow for you to start building a narrative in their mind about how you work and how your company works. And so you want to leverage the opportunity that you're communicating with these agents about the deal that they have on the table, which is not the deal that you're necessarily going to be interested in. Sometimes they're going to tell you that the house can be sold for 50 or 100 grand less than their asking price. But I wouldn't bet on that. The point of this is to develop the relationship. Asking them what price that you can close the deal, you'll figure that out by asking them. And then asking them if they've worked with investors before. Most agents have worked with investors, and typically they haven't had a good experience because investors cancel escrows, they try to beat them up on price, they come up with a bunch of repair requests, and their general experience is not ideal. So you can help them rewrite that narrative so that they feel confident that they're happy to send you an opportunity moving forward, right? So you're trying to leverage the opportunity to rewrite that narrative, and ask them what they're looking for from an investor. Do they have experience? What's the track record? To show them the last 10 houses that you guys have acquired over the last couple of months or however long. You use all of these opportunities to establish yourself as a more credible investor to the agent, right? And then at the same time, you also ask oh, they didn't send you their track record of the last couple houses that they bought. That's surprising. We always do that, right? And here's testimonials of people that we also have bought and sold houses to, or worked. These agents have given us testimonials, right? So you want to over deliver on value and show how the agents haven't been experiencing what it's like to deal with a real investor. And so that's what the point of this conversation is to show them that you're the investor that they have always been looking for. And we do that by asking questions, right? So asking them what types of deals that they typically work with is confirming that they're the agents that you want to build relationships. They might say, no, this is the only fixture I've ever done ever, and I'm never going to do it again. It's like, okay, great. Well, I'm not going to waste a lot of time on that relationship, but likely they will say, yeah, I get deals like this all the time. I'm happy to talk about the next one that's coming up, right? And that's the key. We want to get them to send us the deals that they're working on over time as they're moving forward, right? And so then we ask them, do you have any other deals coming out? Like, they might already have a bunch of offers, the deal's sold. And you should say, great, what's the next one that you're working on? Because these people are trying to do deals too, right? They're trying to get more and more deal flow. So they're already working on their next listing. And that's the one that you want to talk to them about. So ask them that question, and the conversation might end up just ending there. But then you just say, hey, are you okay if we stay in touch and follow up in the future, right? That's what the narrative needs to be. You guys are staying in touch, you're building a relationship. And if they don't have a deal right now, that's why we're setting up a call follow-up cadence so that we stay in touch. And eventually they will have a deal. And if you do your job right and you do what you say you're going to do and you show up professionally and build your credibility, they will send you a deal eventually. And that's the whole point of all this. So these questions are perfectly fine to hand off to someone, and as long as they know what about real estate, they should have an eloquent conversation about the company and build a good relationship for your team.
Awesome. Yeah, so this should be enough to get you started to kind of write your own script. You can leverage this and just have these questions on hand for whoever is going to be on the phone. I think a big piece here is just proving your worth and your credibility by like knowing your shit and like knowing what you're talking about, especially this part here, how you operate. Agents will react favorably to that because it puts you in control. It shows you how you work. And if you describe how you work, it automatically assumes that you're closing deals and that you can be a closer for them. So use these, do 5 for now, but then just hand this tracking system off. You can put it in a spreadsheet version if you want, and just have a VA do this. Like every day, contact 10 agents, send this email out. 10 agents every single day. And if you do that every single day for a year, there's you're guaranteed going to get some type of result, right? I'm not going to say you're going to get a deal, but you're going to get a result, and you can adjust course from there. But this is just enough to get you going. There's obviously the next level, which is kind of scaling this to the thousands, where you're really getting detailed targeting, and you're treating this like you would a direct mail campaign or a direct to seller campaign, where you're reaching out to super targeted lists. The same thing can be done with agents, and this is what Kyle helps clients do and set it up. So if anybody wants to speak with Kyle about setting this up for their channel, there's a link that you can just have a conversation with them. So I just dropped it in the chat.
Yeah, I'm happy to talk with anyone on the call. And again, I think what's important is identifying where you're at and where you want to get to, like you said at the beginning of this whole presentation. So if you're wanting to take to add a marketing channel that does scale, and this can be a awesome long-term strategy for you and your company, I definitely am open to talking. We're looking for other people like Ken. So Ken's a great example of people that we're definitely excited to work with. He knows what he's doing, and he's obviously, he was already crushing it before we started working together. So he can do what he says he's going to do, and he knows how to buy deals. So long term, those are the types of partnerships that we're trying to establish. And I know that everyone on this call is awesome investors. So I'm also happy just to chat if you guys have any questions. I know we didn't really cover all of the nooks and crannies of what's possible, but I'm happy to jump on a call. I see in the chat box, then you sent a link. So you guys, if you want to jump on a call, happy to talk. Feel free to find a time on there. And hopefully this was valuable for you guys. And I appreciate everyone here that listened. And at the end of the day, execution is what gets results. So I think the takeaway is just do this process. It doesn't need to be anything crazy. Just start doing it, and you'll get results.
The second you get one of those replies is going to be the light bulb moment. When you get that, I got something coming up in 2 weeks. That's the moment to just crap. Because we forgot to mention, what's the percentage of deals that are going through agents right now?
Yeah, 93% based on some statistical national database that 93% of all home sales are still getting funneled through real estate agents, which means that, the remaining 7% are what all the investors are currently competing over with the direct mails and with the Facebook ads. So this is the largest and the least competed over assets that deals are being transacted through. So it's kind of like, it feels like cheating, but whatever. I want to make things easy, and I'd rather not have to spend all day and all the capital to get the deals. So it's a good model to have.
That is freaking crazy to think about, that we're all like trying to get fancy with cold calling and targeting and driving for dollars, and we're fighting over the smallest slice. If you can't beat them, join them. This is why I love this strategy, and I don't know why anyone else has figured it out or has gone deep as you have, but it makes so much sense, especially in this market environment right now, seller's market. He who has the deals really are controlling the whole investing landscape right now, and this is where it's at, guys. So just do the manual process that I laid out for you here. If this is something that you want to scale to become a main channel, talk with Kyle so he can just do that, so you do it right from the get-go.
Yeah, and I think people tend to overcomplicate things, and it's fancy in our industry to feel like we need to have like, oh, this crazy software and these crazy tactics and spending $50,000 a month on marketing. It's like, it doesn't need to be that complicated, guys. We can keep it really simple, and let's do what works, and we'll keep it to a long-term strategy that can be super profitable over time too, for years. So happy to be here. Thanks for bringing me on, Dan. Super excited to always talk with you and anyone that you have in your community. So Carlos, good to see you, buddy. You guys have a good rest of your day, and thanks for having me on, man.
Dude, thanks so much for being here, dude. Do you have a second to answer questions, or you got a jet?
Oh, yeah. Happy to. If you guys have anything, happy to talk.
We got time for one or two questions. If you guys want to raise your hand in the chat or raise your hand in the Zoom interface, ask the question, and then we're going to take a 5-minute break right after that before we jump into our mastermind circles, which is where y'all are here for the mastermind circles. Does anyone have any questions though before Kyle has to jump off? I see Eugene.
Cool. Kyle, awesome to see you, man. I'm breaking up rooms now, so I kind of been in the background, but always awesome to see you, man.
Yeah, likewise, brother. Thanks for putting this on. I think it's awesome what you guys are doing here, and these are so valuable. I got a bunch of notes from since the beginning of the presentation, so I think this is great.
I see some questions coming in already from Steve in Fort Lauderdale. How many emails are you sending per day?
So that is dependent upon the scope of the market. So it depends on how big the market is, depends on how many. So a couple of things. There's a lot of variables to answer that question. So if you're talking about what it looks like at the top, the green light, the top of the filter there, and it also depends on how long we've been marketing for, right? So if we're just starting out, there's a lot of variables, and this is kind of what I was saying about sending emails out at scale. There are inherent limiting variables that Gmail, and all the other email service providers do not want you to be spamming, right? So they try to limit you, and there are actually algorithms and bots that flag your account if you send more than a certain amount of emails per day. And if you're starting out, that's typically around like 50, right? So you can't really do too many without getting flagged. And there's different ways that we've developed to actually allow for us to have more of an exponential increase in email sending over time. But really what we're talking about doing this at scale, we are developing thousands of relationships. And in order to maintain thousands of relationships, you have to talk with them frequently. And so we are aiming to communicate with thousands of different people on a weekly basis. And that's going to be a different cadence for different days of the week, depending on what campaigns we have going on at any given time. But if we're talking about what this looks like at the highest level of operation, we have around 60 different campaigns that we run, but that's operating at full time with a full team behind it. And so, I don't want to get too deep into the weeds on exactly what that looks like, but that really is what it takes to build a comprehensive strategy that you want to get to communicating with thousands of agents and having hundreds of agents sending you off market deals every month, that's what it takes to get to. And it's not like initially like I wouldn't try to get to that point by yourself. You will absolutely get blacklisted and probably burn a bunch of bridges with relationships. So I would start off very slow. And if you want to talk more in depth about doing this at scale, I'm happy to talk to you. So just book a time and we can talk more in detail.
Average lead to contract, Jock says. Another variable.
I'm assuming that's percentage. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely highly variable. But the experiences that I've had in San Diego, which are a very competitive market, it's around 10%. So let's say 100. We use just easy numbers. 100 agents hit us up. 10 are maybe awesome leads. And that turns into 10 deals. So I think that's a pretty good number to obviously that's dependent upon how good you are at sales. So that's a variable that needs to come into play. But if you're good at communicating and you're good at selling, that can play in. Because if you send good leads to someone that doesn't know what they're doing and they don't give off the air of confidence and they're an expert in all those things. Jordan Belfort's training is pretty timely for that. So
sell me this pen.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, Eugene is actually on the line. If you want to chime in, Eugene, and just talk about how this has worked for you. What's up, man?
Hey, Eugene.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Hey.
Good. How are you?
Pretty good. Yeah, I just want to add some points that I get from agents. So like I have some agents that calling me and telling me, hey, like you got me basically, because they never respond to any emails. But because the way Kyle designed the emails to look like natural, like it's like really me sending the emails. So basically they decide to respond. And that's great because most of agents that people try to reach them, they don't respond, especially the good ones. And specific from that agent, we had a deal. So just want to let you know the system worked great for me. I actually didn't even study this system. So basically the way I look at it when I start to work with Kyle, I figure out, okay, if I make one deal and my average profit deal is going to be like 90,000, so I can bring an assistant that's going to do it full time and I pay her like 2,000 a month, and that's equal to like 25 a year. So one deal going to cover her work and basically will leave me with a profit. And basically what I did, I took the education, I forward to the assistant, and I told her, study it and start doing it. So I basically never even kind of start even doing the education because the way he just basically the way he built it, anybody can do it. That's what I mean.
That's awesome, man. So you had your assistant. You had your assistant just start the system, building the system and doing it based on the trainings. And you also, how many deals did you have just by having her start that without you even touching it?
So we're currently sitting on 5 deals. First deal was a wholesale deal of 100. Second deal is a fix and flip that I took. We just soon finishing is going to be around profit 120. And another deal that we're closing in 10 days. Another deal that we just put it under contract, I think yesterday or today is going to be under contract. And one more wholesale deal. So it's definitely
spirit fingers for Eugene. Oh my gosh, spirit fingers.
It's definitely exceed my expectation for my first year, because I thought the first year I would just build relationship with agents so they know with who they're talking, and just it's definitely working great. I'm loving it. I love that the agent thinking actually that they're talking to me all day long, and I see all day long like emails going in and out, and I'm basically focusing only if it's an off market or if it's a hot lead. Then I get involved when the agent actually, it's a good agent to work with. Otherwise, I will stay out. And another thing, some agent will want to send lots of offers for you. But if you, especially in this hot market, if you just tell them, listen, if it's a livable house, don't even try, because you're going to waste your time. It's going to look like a lowball offer. And you just don't even try, because you're competing with people that are actually going to live there. So either it should be it's really, really bad condition, either it should be before hitting the market, and then you have opportunity to actually negotiate with the seller. So then it just becomes simple. So most of the leads you just ignore it because it's livable, and you're focusing only on the good ones.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's identifying which properties are not worth your time, not worth spending your time on, and being able to say no. Right? You're saying, I don't want to even write you an offer on that house because I know it's not going to be competitive.
Exactly. And then you're also taking you serious. It's like, okay, this guy don't want to waste my time, and let's work on the one that actually suiting him. So you're also going to start sending you less opportunities, but the opportunities that you're actually going to reach you is going to be the right for me, basically.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah.
And I will say,
I always was dreaming to do this thing, to talk with agents, but when I was starting doing it, it was taking so much effort and so much time for me that I'm like, I don't want this bullshit. It's just too much effort for me. But this system, it's exactly what I was needed for my lazy ass, basically.
well, I will say, Eugene, I will give you some credit because you definitely do your part. When the agents have deals, you call them, and you are great at communicating the value propositions as an investor, to explain to them like why they should work with you. And I think that you really got that part dialed in.
I'm great at bullshitting.
Well, whatever you're doing, it's working. So I think you're doing a great job. So thanks for sharing, man.
My accent helping me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Jenny, awesome stuff, man.
Either way, Kyle, good job for taking the time and creating this system, because like you really need to be patient to do something like that. It's just lots of effort, whatever you did.
Happy to help you, man. Thanks for sharing. Appreciate you, man.
Appreciate it, man.
Everybody, let's give it up for Kyle Good. Fingers in the camera. Show him your love. He brought the heat and the energy. Kyle, we appreciate you, man. Thanks for doing what you're doing. Hit Kyle
Absolutely.
up. Remember, don't fight over the 7% of deals when you can tap into the 93% that are already going through agents. You just have to learn how to build these relationships at scale. And that's why I wanted to bring Kyle on, because this is the stuff that no one else is talking about. So thanks again, man.
All right, guys. Be well. Good to see you all. Have a good rest of your day.
Take it easy, Kyle. Thank you so much, man.